development process, Mayor Fournier would like to review the city's fit tool products. So let's start from the top. Councilmember Godebag.
I want to review the tonight on municipal code where fireworks are concerned. What is legal fireworks are, they can shoot them off from when to when.
Well, let's open that up. So if you follow the attachment,
Just a second.
this chapter establishes pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 70.77 state fireworks laws.
Just look at this. Takes forever.
When used in this chapter, the following words and phrases have the meaning ascribed to them in this section unless the context indicates a different meaning. Blah, blah. Local fire official means fire district number 12. Now that's fire district number 4, I believe, right? Is that their new?
No, there's still 12. Still
12? Okay. Who is designated to act as a local fire official under this chapter. So this is what's on the books.
Then, yeah, we gotta look at that.
Permit means the official authorization granted for the purpose of establishing and maintaining a place within the city where fireworks are manufactured, construction, produced, packaged, stored, sold, or exchanged. State law references, blah, dates of fireworks may be sold and purchased from noon on June 28th, noon to 11 p.m. June 28th, 9 to 11 June 29th through July 4th. Dates and times fireworks may be discharged. They're allowed to be discharged noon to 11 June 28th, 9 to 11 June 29th through July 3rd, 9 a.m. to midnight on July 4th, 9 a.m. to 11 on July 5th. So there's a bunch of days in addition to the 4th of July, around the 4th of July. And then December 31st. No retail fireworks permit may be issued to any applicant unless the retail fireworks stand is covered by liability insurance. No fireworks may be sold or offered sale to the public as consumer fireworks, which are classified as skyrockets or missile type rockets. So those are not allowed to be sold within the city.
Can they be shot off within the city?
Well, no, I believe that they're illegal fireworks.
Some of the fireworks can, the little ones,
Well, safe
and I found out by accident because I had some of the big ones years ago. And this one, Derek Stanberry was still chief, and he swung by and said, you know, you can't be doing those. And I said, what? He said, yeah, they're too big, so I quit using them.
Well, I don't know what was going off around my house on the 4th of July, but it sounded like bombs. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, people had some major league
horrible.
stuff.
Yeah, it's not the legal fireworks that are bothering people, it's the people are getting.
Well,
So I was outside, over at the apartments, it sounded like there was a battlefield going around because all of
That's
the
what it sounded
artillery.
like around
And a
my
lot
house.
of that was outside of Tenino, that was in the county.
well, this was not in
There
the
was
county.
some in Tenino.
My
but
daughter
a lot
looked
of it
out her
was
bedroom window and she could see them going up into the trees.
Some of them you could actually feel the
Yeah,
house right.
yeah.
I know.
Yeah, they were bad. They were really bad. And I don't know what can be done about it. Can more police presence on the 4th of July, maybe?
Well, it's the problem is, you know, something explodes and then you have an officer get there and they have to determine if something that exploded was legal or illegal. And most police departments, unless they roll up and they see in your garage a big stockpile of stuff that you're not supposed to have, they don't go out and do the, you know, this is a legal firework or this is not legal, because it's not easy to determine. But what most places do, they either allow fireworks or they don't allow
Well,
fireworks.
I would like us
And the
to
places that don't allow fireworks will typically, as an alternative, put on their own fireworks display, which can cost a lot of money. But like you see, you know, like Lacey banned fireworks, right, Dave? And Tumwater banned fireworks. Olympia banned fireworks, and then they put on their own display instead. So that seems to be the trend: is do you allow them or do you not allow them? We've cut down our big problems in the past with them were people that were lighting them off on city property and leaving messes, and it would end up like days after in the park. Public Works would be filling up dumpsters, like literally multiple dumpsters. And we cracked down on that by just shutting the park down like July 3rd through the 6th, essentially. or we would just have a cop sit in the parking lot at the city park. And there haven't really been any incidents or problems aside from, noise complaints since we've done that.
I worry about, people that have been in battle, soldiers that come home and they've got PTSD. Believe me, this sounded just like a war. It sounded just like a war around my house. And nothing usually bothers me like that, but boy, that did at night. That was just awful. And the animals, I just thank the Lord that none of Corey's dogs, they don't pay any attention. But there were a lot of animals that ran away. I just,
I guess for me, it just comes down to, the people who are gonna blow off that stuff are probably gonna do it anyway. They're not getting the fireworks from in town, they're getting it from some places selling fireworks and they're not legal. Maybe it makes it a little bit easier to enforce, but
I don't know
like
why.
Wayne said, that by the time they get there, it's gone, who's gonna?
well, there were enough
So,
going on.
it's a hard-
By
it's
the
a hard
time-
thing.
Coming from, like.
There were enough going on around, one right after another, that if they got there, they would see them doing it, so.
Yeah.
That was in Tumwater and they were still going on.
Yeah. I mean, like, I worked at Lacey with you when they banned fireworks,
Yeah.
and it took a while. Like, the first couple of years, it was still mayhem, and then, after a while, and it was,
It's less.
yeah, the cops would just be going around and politely telling people not to do it, and then after a while, it just kind of diminished, but, I don't know.
I just hate banning something for the people that want to do the right things and do legal fireworks, but it's just like everything else, you speed limits because people
Yeah,
aren't reasonable, and so how do you balance the?
I feel like we're one of the few places that still allow people to do things, and I like the parade. Most parades don't allow people to throw
You throw
candy.
Yeah.
And we're like the only parade that still allows people to throw candy, but I mean, they shouldn't be, I don't think July 6th,
Yeah.
it should be like Battle 7 of the,
Chief, he can join in our conversation on this.
I have issues with that, and even like this weekend, there was somebody lighting off a ton of fireworks on Saturday night.
What was that? I didn't hear those.
I don't know,
It must not have been,
it was on this end of town, there were big booms.
I didn't
Did
even
you
hear
hear them?
those, so they weren't close enough to my house, I guess, because I didn't even hear them exactly.
Yeah, I heard it on my house.
You heard those? Yeah, those were
I
big.
was so tired if I'd have had a glass of wine, I probably would have fallen asleep in the chair.
Oh,
I
after
was
the,
tired after the sale.
Lions.
Well,
I don't need wine.
no. Well, I don't like them, and I said my piece, so. And I knew I was gonna come up against opposition, but that's the way it goes.
What you do now is if you want to make changes to the ordinance, you would ask to have it placed on the agenda, on a future agenda for action. And, maybe allowing fireworks July 3rd, to be shut off July 3rd through the 7th is something that could be tightened up. I mean, I don't think anybody's saying that's unreasonable. I don't know, but you don't know until you throw it on the table and
I
ask
think
for a
that
vote
they
and have
should,
a big.
I think they should only leave on the 4th, and that's it.
Linda, just so that you know, the same conversation that you're having now, we had a long, long time ago, and this was the compromise that we came up with. I think, what was, from the 28th to the 5th or 6th?
To the 6th, I think.
Okay. I can see cutting back on one day on either end, and I wouldn't have a problem with that, say the 29th through the 5th. That still gives people plenty of time. But as far as, like Wayne was saying this last weekend, and I heard the weekend after, it's one of those things, it's almost impossible to catch them. It really is.
I'm telling you, there were enough going off around my house, one right after the other, that if somebody had been there, they'd have caught them.
I think when you put the rules out, people generally follow them. So what you would do is you would ask that we place the ordinance on the agenda, not this agenda, but on the next agenda for action to be taken. And then when it comes up, you might make a motion to amend the ordinance to adjust the days. And then, you know, whether these guys agree with you or not is what you figure out. And you make your position, Rachel comes back and she's, well, I don't like it, I want fireworks allowed every day.
You should have it every
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. You know, then we hash it out and we see what happens.
There you go.
I'm all for shortening it up more than he said. I'm
Well,
for 2 days.
yeah, I don't think they need to shoot them off from June 28th through July 5th. July 5th is
We're
what it
gonna have the
says.
fireworks lobby in here.
Can they still buy them early?
Oh, yeah.
I would say let them buy.
I'd say don't buy them, they
In
can't,
the ordinance right now, the dates you can buy them are the same as the dates you can
exactly,
shoot
shoot them off, yeah.
So just change the dates, actually, you're authorized to shoot them off, that's what I'm hearing you guys say.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
So we have to
well, we
let
gotta have
them
the
buy
debate
them
first.
early.
we're not gonna prep that. We're gonna go through the full thing.
But I-
You sound like hell.
You
Just saying.
know, give me a kiss.
Probably how you got it. That got weird.
Yes, it did.
Kiss and paint, that's how you got it.
Next!
It's a work session.
Councilmember O'Callahan wishes to review the status of library repairs and maintenance. Sir.
I was just wondering if we had any kind of plan. They came up to us quite some time ago. And you know me, I take my camera for walks, and I saw a lot of fascias falling off, and a lot of the stuff that they mentioned hadn't been touched yet. So and it is our building, we should keep it up.
Yeah.
So I was just hoping that, you know, somebody can come back to us with a plan and let us know.
I know Troy's been over there to address the laundry list that we got.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he has hit up the siding yet, but he said that she checked off everything on that list that was last given to us by the library.
Okay, yeah, that's all I wanted to know.
If he's here tonight, we could ask him where we're at on the siding. He won't be, he's been pretty busy. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to do, just remind us that we were supposed to be doing that stuff. I know he's busy. I'm done.
All right. You wanna walk us through the city finances?
Sounds like we have a stroll.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So if you'll open your agendas to the tool page.
Right here?
So you'll remember Mr. Waltz came a couple of sessions ago and talked to you guys about this same document. The unfortunate part about this document is it's based on 2017 data, not our 2018 data. And after talking with Dwayne, you know, of course I'd love to see all green across there, but he says that the two orange areas you're looking at, change in cash position and enterprise self-sufficiency, those have more to do with how we've been restructuring our accounts, because again, they don't line up right. And if you start taking a look at the individual lines inside of each of those accounts, there's good reasons for the change. And that's all that this is saying there is, hey, there's an unusual amount of change going on here.
Because we moved money.
Yeah, we moved.
The way we accounted for them, so it looks like there's a big change. but in
Yeah,
reality, it's
we
not.
took some of the cash and put it into the reserve funds and.
You know, we're doing the things that we told ourselves to do in our policy, and
Let's get the heck out of everybody else.
right, you know, but the system is doing exactly what it's supposed to do, is alerting us to the fact that there's something going on. And, okay, we can explain it, so, you know, everything's good. So using those measurements, about the biggest change you can say to this coming budget is what we'll focus on for capital expenditures. We're getting pretty good at finding money for things. It's just matching the things up that we can find money for with the things that we need to have done. And then, so that's that tool. And I guess what we're telling you is, as we go through the budget development process, we're gonna, you know, refer to this so that we stay within our left and right limits. And we'll start seeing more consistency, and those orange should go green this next year.
I was looking at a lot of other cities, and they were almost all, even, Tumwater has a very healthy budget. They were orange in the same areas,
Yeah.
and so.
Well, it's changed,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
changed. And then, it didn't make the electronic packet, but on your desk is Mayor Forney had asked for a recap of our tax revenues last year. So that document shows you, what, by type of tax and where allocated, how much we took in. But it's not particularly useful all by itself because, what does it mean? You don't know if the numbers are going up and down. For the purpose of this discussion, we could go back the previous 3 or 4 years, and I'm very confident we'd see a progression in all the right lines. And the question is, what changed to cause the additional income to get the revenue? Because we didn't change that much, other than deciding we're gonna buy some things or things like, but we
Raise
imposed no new
taxes.
taxes, we imposed new fees for the sewer system, but we didn't raise other taxes that we could have raised. You all are talking about looking at this, take leverage in the sales tax difference, but we haven't done it yet. So, explain the revenue increases, and the only one we have is the state's just doing incredibly well, and the city's take of that is being reflected in that document. I'm real excited about the new building going up in town. Once they start their operations, it will be really, really interesting to see what that does.
Now, you're talking about the cannabis place.
Correct.
And don't we have a dentist office coming down here too?
That's the rumor, although there hasn't, as far as I know, there hasn't been any movement on it for a couple of 3 months.
Yeah, this is kind of what I wanted to look at.
I don't know that you're looking at what's in is that the packet?
No.
Oh,
this is
okay,
just
no,
on the
it's
side.
online.
Yeah. This is just revenue. But, I want you guys to have confidence in the city's position and in the city's direction and our growth. And really, our revenue trends have been pretty amazing. And when I was looking at it, we've increased, it's something like in taxes, what we gather in property taxes, it's increased like 23% in the last 5 years, which is insane.
Yeah, it is.
So we're really on a good path. I don't know how, what that, and it's continually risen in the last 5 years.
How much of that are we banking? Are we putting aside?
Well, it depends from year to year.
Because a lot of the stuff that happened at the 2000 break
Yeah.
is starting to show up again. When we were told, no, it's not gonna happen, especially around housing and the way that they're going to be making loans. Where before it was, if you had a heartbeat and you wanted a house, you could have a house loan, whether you could afford it or not. And it's starting to show those signs of moving in that direction again. So, yes. But, I listen to news, not trying to be patronizing or anything, but I listen to news 8 hours a day. So I catch a lot of stuff that is just skimmed over most of the time. And one of the things that I look at because of here is the financial stuff every now and then. And that's starting to scare me a bit. Gold prices have not moved hardly at all. Silver hasn't moved in the last 3 years. When you start seeing stuff like that, it's time to start putting money away. That's the only reason that I'm asking. If we're starting a bank, maybe we should take a harder look at that as well.
Again, that's just a policy we have to develop when we're doing the budget. We want to have a reserve fund of X number of dollars.
Well, we kind of did.
We did.
And we kind of hit the mark where we wanted to make sure we had our contingency fund of like 90 days reserve.
But it's always like that.
Yeah.
You've got some
Maybe.
definite concern.
Well, what I'm thinking is that we may don't have to do it as fast as we did the last time.
Yeah.
But I think we need to double that. I'm not trying to put financial scare out there, but these are the things I'm trying to see.
Yeah. Well,
Hopefully I'm wrong and I'm seeing the wrong things, but I wasn't last time. And I wasn't with the tech bubble last either.
we should be careful about the commitments we make.
Yes.
That's the other end of it, things that are gonna have ongoing cost. You gotta
Yes.
Look at that, besides just having the money set aside, we need to do things that are.
Exactly. Just got more budget than
So it's.
I'm all for slowly increasing there, having a nice cushion, that's always kind of bad, trying to do things, you know, because especially in
It just puts
government,
us in
you
a
never
better
know.
position.
Yeah, if something happens, you don't have to make drastic cuts that way, you can kind of let it.
Or try to make
Whether
nice.
than that's what I never know.
Just a thought. I got Wayne thinking now.
Well, yeah, I mean,
We've got time,
yeah,
you know, so it's just something to look at, and maybe when you have a good harvest, put some of it away.
yeah,
Right now, we're in good harvest time.
good analogy.
Wait, and on a bummer note, John.
Well, we've done well, and we're doing well.
We are doing
That doesn't,
well.
you know, that doesn't mean we need to sign up and go buy a new Mercedes, but, you know, we've been doing well. And when I look at other cities and the way they've trended, we beat the marks.
Oh, yeah, well, I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying for this next budget cycle, maybe we can put away a little bit more since we are getting a little bit more. You know, figure out where we are this year and what we put away this year, and then maybe 3 to 5% on top of that for next year,
Yeah,
depending on how the numbers work out. Just an idea. It doesn't hurt to have that on to the side. Because otherwise, we're gonna end up like a lot of cities did back in 2008, either going bust or asking everybody for more and more taxes that they don't have money for either.
yeah.
Doesn't pay any lay people off.
Let's, at our next work session, bring a current budget position like that shows the ending fund balances to everybody, and then and like an end of year budget for the previous year.
Because I had a feeling without seeing the numbers that what we're getting this year was more than last year. I just didn't know how much.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because things are actually doing well so far. But when you start looking at what Congress is doing, like this next budget cycle, what is it, $680 billion of additional spending that they don't have the money for? And they're just looking at the treasury, and if they do that, that's gonna put us in a real fast line for either deflation or inflation, which is gonna hurt us. We're a small jurisdiction. Whenever something bad happens, whenever there's a hiccup, it hurts us a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say you guys agree on
So we
something?
agree on something.
It's really scary.
Did we just become best friends?
That is really scary.
Well,
Chief has his hand out.
sir,
Is this not a good time to ask for the new chief's car?
What
Mercedes?
part of that contingency fund, I know.
Oh, I see, okay.
no, you can come up and talk about that. You can come up and talk about that.
Good idea.
I
He needs a new car.
feel bad, so,
Well, I was thinking about, and it totally escaped me because what Dave said. So we'll look at the current budget position and the previous year's budget, and we'll see what like the,
Well, we can
you know,
wait next year.
yeah, we'll see what the, you know, kind of the fund balances were at the end of the year. The property taxes, you know, we could see those kind of trends.
Mhm.
I think what we're unable to anticipate is commercial activity,
Yeah.
because we've been working really hard to bring in more commercial activity,
Mhm.
and some of that's unrealized
Yeah,
yet.
like this one here, it takes 5 years for a business to know whether they're really gonna be able to keep their doors open.
Yeah, and what they bring to the table.
Yeah.
Same, the ag park is a big unknown that we know
Well,
will
he got him a new
The
benefit.
ag part,
But it was a used.
I got some news when James was done about that too.
Okay.
Except we
Go
wanted
ahead,
to
sir.
turn into the Tenino Dairy Farm.
So I feel
Do you wanna
bad.
turn that on, please?
How's that? Hello, counselors. So I feel bad talking about a new car when today marks 1 year that you all approved me of being hired. So it's my 1 year anniversary
Happy
today.
anniversary.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, but you can't have a car for your anniversary.
Oh, see, that's what I was gonna ask for. Yeah, so, my vehicle, the mayor and I were talking, my vehicle, is definitely gonna need either some heavy work done on it, which it won't be worth it. It is the oldest car in the fleet. I did that on purpose so that the guys could have the newer cars, and I wanna keep it that way. So my intent is to see if Thurston County has something that they're getting ready to say goodbye to, because they get new cars every year, no matter what condition. And I'm looking into that to hopefully bring some information back to you and see what we can do.
Yeah.
So it's not something that we budgeted for, but it's something, I told the chief it might be something towards the end of the budget season that we could look at his budget and see if there's, you know, he didn't buy enough paper clips and, you know, bullets this year that maybe we could cobble together enough from within his budget to allow the purchase. So he's gonna start looking, and he might bring in the next meeting or two some things that are available, and it might be, you know, well, this is available, so we wanna move on it fast, but we'll get a chance to look at the budget reports next meeting, and you'll have to remind us that we wanna look at your budget in that light.
I can do that. Thank you.
Do you wanna talk to him about last night's incident?
Sure, since I'm up here. So last night, sheriff's deputies through 911 received a call of a shooting over off Hudson Street. Houston, I'm sorry, right next door to Jason's house.
Seriously, on this side?
Actually, their neighbor,
No, they live next to him.
right next door to him.
This is, and it goes, this house, Jason's parents' house.
Right, so
Yeah.
it's this house, though, that's what I'm saying, it's on this side of Jason's house, not the other side. If you're going down, never mind.
Yeah, that's
I know.
Yeah,
right.
so,
Keep going.
yeah, so anyway, what happens is that, and I just talked to a sheriff's detective. The first thing is that there's a group of men, between 2 and 4 is what we're hearing now, that actually forced entry in through the front door of the residence. And as they did that, the residence is dark, and they went to the very back room, and the victim, who was shot in the thigh during this gun battle inside the house, he hears them. He actually has his revolver next to him, oddly enough, and he doesn't ask questions, he just starts shooting at them. And they had a rifle that shoots, for those that know ammunition, .223 rounds, which is a pretty good sized round. So it either came from an AR-15 or an AK-47, but they kind of sprayed his room, hit him in the thigh of his right leg, shattered his leg, and he returned fire. He's not sure if he hit anybody. There was no blood trail leaving the residence. There's bullets all over, holes all over the place in the bedroom and the hallway. And he's the one talking on 911 to them right after these guys finish what they're doing and leave. Some of the back background to this is, there's been some problems at that house between, the 21-year-old victim and his mom. Sheriff's deputies arrested him about 2 months ago, or in May sometime actually, because he had assaulted his mom. And I think most of you in this room will probably know, once you read the name, who this family is. And so there's some issues. And we're hoping that the Sheriff's Department can get to the bottom of it. They're looking for video surveillance stuff right now to try to help them out to identify who did this. The victim, he's being somewhat quiet. He's not really wanting to say a whole lot. He'll blurt out things here and there during his interview, but nothing that the Sheriff's Department can really work on. So I turned the case over to the Sheriff's Department because we have an agreement with them that anything that is fairly serious of major crime like this, they will come in and process the scene for evidence and use their investigators to help us investigate it. And then we now are in a support role for them. So that's what's going on about last night. Any questions for me?
How's the academy going? The academy?
Oh, yes. So this week, Thursday night, we graduate our 7 recruits that we've had in our Reserve Academy. They've completed 300 hours of training. They'll be released back to their home agencies, and we're pretty excited about that. The graduation will be at the Vault. It starts at 6 o'clock. Everyone here is invited, and it'll be good. Sheriff Snaza is our keynote speaker for that, and we're pretty excited about that. He actually started out as a reserve for Napavine, and so he understands, what it means to give your, offer service for free doing this job. I'm not sure that I have the same dedication as that, but they all have my deepest respect for being able to complete this program and go back to their home communities and serve. So we're excited about that.
I got to play with them on Self-Defense Day.
I actually heard about that, John, that you had a good time with them.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, so,
Probably back to college.
I have moments like that as well. Any other questions for your old chief here?
Citizens Academy, you gonna do another one?
Yes, September is what we're looking at. In fact, John Steins and I talked about that today. So,
I might be able to make this one.
that'd be wonderful. We'd love to have you.
That's right.
So, anything else, Mr. Mayor, that you want me to cover while I'm up here?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, wait, National Night Out.
like 3 meetings now.
We had to cancel it,
Okay,
so I'll get with you on that.
okay.
Yeah. Too many things going on, so.
National Night Out.
We got time, so first.
Okay, go ahead. You got more stuff to talk about. Go
I have a
ahead.
couple questions too.
Go.
I'm wondering about the new business that's gonna go. The old-time Tenino time machine.
The old lumbermans.
Yes, yes.
I don't know anything about it.
Well, he's gutted the whole inside of the building, I found that out.
Has
And,
Ben worked with them at all? Okay.
and what is he wanting to put in there? He builds parts, he manufactures parts for motorcycles and things.
But Ben's been working with them,
Okay,
so
so-
the city's involved.
Well, but I'm wondering, that's not industrial down there. Can we have a business like that in there?
I'm sure that Ben is on top of it.
Hey,
We can have Ben come and give us a report on it at the next meeting if you'd like.
I would like that.
We haven't seen him in a while. You
I
wanna see
mean,
it, Ben?
I want business in this town as much as anybody else,
Yeah.
but it's not zoned for industrial.
Well, it's, yeah, if, the next meeting, the second week in June, August.
Right, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, okay, so we'll talk to Ben about coming and giving a report at the next meeting.
August 22nd.
August, there's gotta be one before that,
Oh, the 13th.
August 13th. Okay, anything else?
Just no.
Councilmember Watterson.
I just wanted to update you
Big
on,
match.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh God, you guys are,
You matched,
I did wear the
you matched
license.
Bill Callahan at the last meeting.
you guys are getting really weird now.
Yeah.
I just wanted to update you on something with the tier project in PECI. I got a call the other day from them, and they, not too long ago, had a change of their board and executive director, and apparently they made a decision to get out of the technical assistance kind of work that they do and move into more of a policy around renewable energy. So they, in 2 months, are gonna kind of be backing out of that agreement that we have with them, which they can do. It allows them 60 days notice. They are gonna help us try to find somebody else.
They're gonna back out of a nationally award-winning,
That's what I said, because
we hate
and the
success.
whole thing with the whole policy thing, there's like tons of groups out there doing policy work around this, and so we're going into something that there's tons of people already doing and getting that in, but that's the way it goes, I guess. So anyway, we're gonna be looking to, they're gonna help us at least try to find somebody that's doing kind of the kind of work that they've been doing, but it just means we're gonna have to kind of transition some new, possibly new people. I don't know exactly what that means for us long term,
Okay.
but a lot of the stuff's already kind of in the pipeline and kind of been done, and
That's just weird.
it's just weird, yeah.
Did they say
And,
why?
Huh?
Did they say why?
This is their board of directors, they made a decision when these new directors came on that that's what they wanted to focus on. I don't know why.
Policy than there is in labor.
Yeah. So anyway, just wanted to make you guys aware of that, and I'll keep you informed on where that's all going. And I've had a few conversations with Joe Belmonte, and we're actually having, he's going back to DC also, so we're gonna,
Was he going?
yeah.
So who's all going for the year?
Get this, so they
Joe,
called and said that
Kelsey?
they're gonna back out, and they offered to pay for his way back there. Pete, because the school board said, I don't know, we want to spend money to send you back there, so they said, oh, we'll send you back. So maybe they're just trying to be
They
nice.
said, will they pay yours?
Yeah. So anyway, I've talked to him some, and I think we're kind of in agreement on kind of how to move forward, and
Okay.
so I'll keep you guys informed on where we're at and what's going on, but it's all good. Like somebody told me, even if we just get the one piece that PSE's doing, that's a $3 million
Yeah.
project that's happening,
Yeah.
so it's a win, but I don't wanna see the education part go away, especially because that was really my,
That's too
one
bad.
of the biggest part I wanted to see is that education program, wanted to give kids a opportunity to enter the field, so. And also as part of that, the 2 months that these people are still here, that's kind of their focus on trying to get the pieces in place for that education.
Before they back out.
Yeah, so hopefully they'll get some more work done in the meantime, but
That lady that resigned should start her own firm.
I've been talking to her too.
Really? I mean-
She just took a job with a utility down there doing kind of the same work for the utility, and she said, I may be able to help you guys out, so at least some, just, you know, if you're in a bind and need some help, so. Cause she's really the one that,
Yeah.
that whole PECI group, she was the one that put everything together and kind of got the ball rolling, so. We'll see. I just wanted to let you, make you aware that that's going on, and,
Cool.
anyway.
I have an old antique fire engine for the parade, if anybody would like to ride through the parade. Typically, the mayor just,
I got work.
okay.
I'll be gone.
No.
Last
It's
one,
easy. Let's-
not me, I don't want to.
City Council, I'm asking City Council.
I'm a commissioner, what?
You get your own fire engine.
Ah, damn it.
I'll be here, but do I get to throw candy?
Yes. So Ron is gonna go buy a bunch of candy this week.
Unless we change the rules on that too.
Oh, I knew there was something else I wanted to tell you guys. So the guy that he and his wife own the Western Coffee Company, Tyann is sitting next to me, and I'm a cashier at the sale, and she's sitting next to me, and she runs the parade. And he comes up and he says, "You think I could get some of those really soft Nerf balls to throw from our float?" And she says, "No, I don't think no."
It's expensive.
Well, not just that, the liability, those kids would be bouncing all over in front of those, no.
Oh, that's overthinking.
No.
So if anybody wants to ride through the parade, be over on the end of town at by 11 o'clock on Saturday. I'll have a fire engine. You can bring your family, your kids. The city will go buy a bunch of candy if we remember to this week. Way more than we think we should buy, because it like goes quick.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
we
2 or
said-
3 bags means nothing. You need to buy like,
I think the
Tons of
Lions
it.
Club spends $75 on the candy.
that's nothing.
Well,
I
that's
spend
what
like
they spend for
$150.
And barely make it to the end.
And it gets you to like right there.
Real weird,
Yeah.
too much. It's not good for those kids.
Bad option.
So
It's early. They can bounce off the walls for a
Yeah.
while. and
Yeah,
be-
it's a parent's problem.
And their teeth all
So
fall
let me
out.
know if anybody wants to. I'll let Jason know as well. Who's this fella?
Who's this?
It's Joey Sammy when he's one of the.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's okay.
We have to add to the agenda to proclamations. We have authored up a proclamation to, and this I know it's being recorded and it's a public meeting and all, but we're trying to keep this a secret. We're going to, with your cooperation, we are going to name one of Adam Craig's songs as the official city song. That song, The Town That Made Us. So we have a proclamation we're going to add to the agenda tonight, and we'll pass it around for everybody to sign and take action on, and then that will be presented on Friday to them at the concert. So that will be cool. And then also, if you have questions about personnel actions taken that have been not been answered by phone calls that have been made to you, and you would like to talk about it tonight, you can ask for an executive session. We have it on the agenda, and you could ask that we have an executive session for personnel. What is it? Not for personnel reasons.
Just to discuss personnel issues.
To discuss personnel actions taken. So if you want to talk about that, make a motion when the agenda comes up. And I thought you were raising the hand again. I was going to throw a pen at you this time. Yeah. So that can be taken then, and we can discuss it. And that is all I've got so far.
Well, I got one. I talked to you about it before, a foreign trade zone
Mhm.
and the Port of Olympia. Tenino is part of the foreign trade zone. Because of that, people that move in there, as long as they sell whatever they make outside of the area, that frees up a whole lot of tax dollars for them. And we still get a whole, all the benefit of a business being there. And they get the benefit as long as they're selling outside. I don't remember, because it's been years since because we've never been in a position to even think about taking advantage of the foreign trade zone. So I asked Bill McGregor, I asked EJ Zeta as well. She gave me her email and it just kept bouncing back. And then at the chamber, I saw Bill, and he found out right away that yes, we are part of that foreign trade zone.
She'll probably get mad at you for talking to Bill.
Yeah, well, that's okay. Like I said, I kept sending, matter of fact, every day it shows that, oh, we got a bounce back from that one. It won't stop. It's like it's haunted now.
Tell me what you got, because she always answers mine.
No, it's the email just keeps bouncing back.
That's weird.
And I got it right off of her card. But anyway, I think it would be a good idea to have the port come up and give us a tutorial on a foreign trade zone, and maybe we can take advantage of that.
Okay.
I said, this is the first time, because of the ag park, that we have a possibility of taking advantage of that. That's how far back this goes.
We should invite the new port director to come introduce herself, and then maybe we can ask for her to bring some staff down. They could also talk about
Yeah.
port trade zone designations, is that?
Yeah, that'd be
That
great,
sound-
because
does
like I
that sound fair?
said,
So she hasn't been down and introduced herself, so she
Right.
can come down and say, hi, I'm the import director, and then bring some staff along with her to talk about foreign trade zone designations.
it'd be nice, because I've heard a lot of good things of hers.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of great things. Okay,
I thought it would be a good idea for us to, since we're still in the very beginning stages of the ag park, to see if we can make that work for us. Sometimes I remember things.
okay. Anything else for the work session? So we've got 15 minutes. I don't want to not use that, and we have one of our presenters, Mr. Joey Simeon. How do you say it? Simeon, from Brightwire Networks. Would you like to come up and give your presentation during the work session?
I think he needs at least 20 minutes.
20 minutes?
Yes.
Okay, there's a couple of things that I could bring up real quick.
Oh gosh, he's gonna take all your time now.
Yeah. I went to the chamber meeting today.
Okay?
Not the chamber meeting, the commissioners meeting. They had all the chiefs up there, and they were saying goodbye, and I could see his face again.
Gregory.
Thank you. They were gonna say goodbye to him, and I couldn't stay long enough. But they came up with a proclamation, and now I can't get it. Just let me try this. There you go. There's a couple of proclamations. Let me look for it. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, we have about 15 minutes. Are you Miss Faye Bronson? Would you like to come up and speak to the council now, since we've got time? This is Miss Faye Bronson. She's here to request an adjustment to her, so no action can be taken to the work session. So we're gonna listen to you talk, and we can talk with you, and then after 7:30 during the actual meeting, action may be taken. But you can come up and kind of present your case now. Ms. Faye Bronson to request an adjustment to her utility account on the basis of abnormal water consumption.
I brought some handouts.
Thank you. The attached documents in your council packet are the contents of an email outlining the basis for her request. Since Ms. Bronson admits that to no leak in her water system, we are recommending we move to deny Ms. Bronson's request, as it would amount to a gift of public funds. So if you would like to step up.
Okay. I have had some problems with my water meter over the past 13 years, and I keep track of every month when I get my bill.
Can you speak into the mic? I'm sorry.
Sure.
Thank you.
Every month when I get my bill, I document the meter readings, and I've been doing that for 13 years. And in when the meter came in, the meter that was replaced just recently, I've had 5 totally unexplained water bills that were not part of the leak. 2 of them, I did have a leak and I did fix it. The most recent one happened in May. I got a bill for $661 that said I used over 3,500 gallons of water a day. I was on vacation for 3 weeks. I came back on June 13th, and Denise had sent me in my water bill. My water bill was $802 for the month of June. On the 13th, and you can see what I sent you here, and I have video documentation for every single one of the readings in the handout that I gave you. I started to go out when I came home on the 13th and take pictures of my meter readings, and also started keeping track of when I turn my sprinkler system on, when I turn it off, when I flush a toilet, when I did a load of clothes, did everything. And you can see on here the meter readings and the usage. I came home on the 13th, and in those first 13 days, I already had 9,501 gallons of water go through my meter during those first 13 days. And you can see there was no more abnormal usage the rest of the month. And then on the end of the month, so I broke down at the bottom my first 14 days usage and the rest of the month. So I used an average of 496 gallons of water per day for the rest of the month for the second 2 weeks, and 9,501 gallons per day the first 13 days. And I've had unusual water usage 5 times over the last 13 years. And that was, I didn't print that out, but I do have, that was in the packet that I sent to the city. And I went ahead and paid those bills. But I did get a credit from Denise one time for $136, and the other bills I've paid. But then the very next time, it comes down that there's nothing wrong. I paid to have Tim's Irrigation come out and do an irrigation check on my lines. No problem. My meter's not running. I've got video to prove that when I went out and checked my meter, nothing was flowing. That Troy says the meter was spinning like crazy when he came out on June 5th. Now, I'm not sure when the meter stopped spinning or what happened, but it's almost impossible to use that much water usage. There's nothing under my house. I had a plumber come out and do leak testing, but because my meter wasn't running when everything was turned off, it's hard to find a leak when nothing's running. So on the on the 16th of July, they finally came out and put in a new meter. And on the very first day when I went out to do another picture and to read it, the meter was turning so slowly that you almost could not see it move with the naked eye. And Jason and Brett came out to my house the day when I called again. I said, this meter's moving a little bit too. So we turned off my sprinkler system at the main shutoff valve, and that stopped the meter. Okay, so after that time, I turned my water system on again, as you can see on the 21st. I turned my valve on again, and since that time, in the last 4 days, the meter has not moved at all. This is the brand new meter that they installed. So all this usage, I've never ever had anything leaking. So the only thing I can say is something happened to my meter. And I did research, and yes, it is very unlikely that water meters go bad. I know that from reading from things from Boston, Massachusetts, clear all across the country. But it's not impossible. And because I've had these unusual spikes over the last several years, 5 times of unexplained water, and we're talking 8,500 cubic feet per month. That's almost, that's a lot of water. And I'm a senior, I'm 72 years old, I live on a fixed income. These 2 water bills exceeded my house payment for 2 months. And there's just no way that could be water usage. I would have had a flood or something. That water usage, I would fill half an Olympic swimming pool. Reason I know that, I Googled it. So there's nothing in my yard that shows no water in my house, none of my water meters are broken. My sprinkler system was not even turned on until May 21st. It was totally off the whole year. And then when they came and did the sprinkler test on the 21st, which is 2 days before I went on vacation, my sprinkler tested all normal, everything was fine. I went on vacation, it ran 5 times in the month of May, and it ran exactly 6 times the first 2 weeks. And then when I came home, I shut it off, and I've only ran it. When you see sprinkler system ran on here, that's the only time my sprinkler system ran. It runs for 154 minutes when it goes through the whole cycle on my lot, which uses exactly 1,848 gallons of water. And the reason I know this is because every single time I went out and took a picture, I've got tons of videos on my phone I can show you. I've never seen that meter spin the whole time. So yes, there's something wrong. And I know I'm not asking for a gift of funds, but meters go bad. And I think over the years, my meter has done some weird spiky things that are unexplained. And I'm not arguing with what Troy says. But nobody ever came back and checked again and checked again and checked again from the 27th of June when they first did the reading, or the 27th of June, when he found it, to go back and take a look at it to see if it ever stopped in that time. The day that he came out, I was not home on June 5th. It was spinning. He said it was spinning like crazy. But that kind of water usage, you've got something going on in your yard or in your house or somewhere. And like I said, we can't even attest to it. When Brett and Jason came out on the 21st to look at it, they couldn't explain it either, because there was when they put the new meter in, again, it was not running, just like it was not running on all the videos that I took for the last 2 weeks of June. So I'm asking for some credit back, because I also, on one of the pages in the back, I went through every single one of I graph everything. I'm quite anal. I was a finance officer for years. So I graphed my water usage and my power usage every month off meter readings. And so I go back and I look at that.
You do that regularly, or you just?
I've done it for 25 years.
Wow.
I have every statement.
That is.
I have every statement, every invoice for 40 years.
Wow.
And so, I'm sorry, I just do. My kids are going to have a hell of a time when I kick the bucket.
Impressive.
So, but anyway, so what I did is I went back and I picked up 12 years of May invoices over the course of May. Every one of the invoices, I loaded them in here and I wrote down what my average May usage was. You can see that on the last page. For 12 years in May, my cubic foot usage over a 12-year period was 14,261 cubic feet, or 1, per gallon per year. You can see that. Then I did for all the average June billings for the entire year. For 13 years, it was only 33,522 cubic feet for 13 years usage for the month of June. That includes my sprinkler systems, which I usually turn on the end of May. So I'm sitting here looking now at a bill that one bill for 2 weeks exceeds my usage for 13 years. How's that possible?
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm not asking for a gift. What I'm doing is I'm saying that I think something was wrong with my water meter, and I just feel that I've been, I need to have some compensation for that, because it just doesn't make any sense. And even the 2 guys that came out on the 21st can't explain it. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay.
I think something was wrong with the meter, and it just really got exasperated this last time.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think, and this does not include I took out the $155 I paid for the sewer. That doesn't even include that, because I took that out of these figures that I gave you. This is just pure water usage over the course of those 2 months.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Bronson? Or is there any additional information you would like to request from her?
So still, you didn't find us, so I thought I heard somebody saying that you actually found the leak in your sprinkler.
No, what happened was when Jason and Brett, is that their names, Jason and Brett?
Well, there's 2 of them.
Yeah, they both came out, so when they were working on the street down here on the highway, they came over that day, and what they did is they tried to help me out. They were really nice about it, and they came over and they said, well, let us see if we can figure out what's going on. So what we did is we turned it, because the meter was moving very, very slowly, which I can show you on a video. We almost couldn't see it with the naked eye. So about 20 feet from where my meter is my sprinkler system, outdoor sprinkler system shutoff valve. And so we shut it off, and it stopped the meter from going ever so slowly. And so I left that off until the 23rd or whenever it shows on here that I watered, and I turned it on again, ran my sprinkler systems, and then I was gonna go out and shut it off. But it wasn't running anymore, and it hasn't ran since. So there's been it's not turning. Like right now, I took a picture again this morning, a video, just in case you guys wanted to see it, and that new meter with the sprinkler systems turned on is not running at all.
So your meter has been replaced.
They replaced it on the 20, I believe it's on that one sheet that I gave you. It shows when the meter was replaced. They replaced it the day before. I documented it. I kind of got my papers mixed up here, sorry about that.
The 16th, it looks like.
It was replaced the new meter was replaced the day before, so it was replaced on the 15th. And on the 16th, when I went out to do my normal weekly readings, is when I noticed it was replaced. And then I noticed it was also running very slowly, and I called Denise again, and they sent Jason and Brett out, and because they were working there, and came over and helped me. And then, of course, on the 21st, all the pictures I've taken since then, the meter's not moving at all. So it totally stopped. And I've done nothing, but I've paid a lot of money. My irrigation guy came out and did a thing, I paid a plumber to come out and take a look, in addition to my $1,400 water bill. So, and nobody found anything. And when I'm on vacation, I even called Sergeant Sharp, because they do wellness checks at my house while I'm on vacation all the time. And I know they don't come through your yard, but I have a 6-foot wooden fence around my whole yard. Because even Troy said to me, well, maybe somebody's stealing your water. Well, they're stealing 9,501 gallons a day is a little bit tough.
Yeah.
We noticed that.
And then he said, well, the drainage is really good in Tenino. I've lived here 40 years. It's good, but it ain't that good. So I can't explain it. And I'm just asking for some remuneration back based on my 12-year average. I feel something happened to the meter because I don't think water was going through it and leaking anywhere in my yard. So, and I do maintain my house very well. And I live alone, so it's not like there's a bunch of people there watering. I have a yard service that comes every Wednesday. I asked the guys, was there anything unusual there? They said no. I have a cleaning crew that comes in and cleans my house every 2 weeks. I asked them, did you leave anything on? Was there anything unusual? She said no. But even, 9,500 gallons for a drippy faucet, I'm sorry, but it can't run that much water in 3 weeks. Anyway, I rest my case and thank you for listening.
Thank you.
To my
Thank you.
voice.
Excellent job. So we don't have it on the agenda to take action on tonight, but it's your agenda at this point. But I wouldn't say the council would be at a point where you could make some type of decision, but you could maybe, ask staff to take a look at it based on what your concerns or thoughts are. Or, well, does anybody have any thoughts before we close the work session?
On the water,
Yeah.
I think she made a good case. If they're using that much water, there'd have to be some evidence of it. I mean, if it's a sprinkler system in your yard, it'd probably be the greenest yard in the,
Well, it's pretty green, I've gotta say.
Yeah.
But it's,
Not helping your case now.
I have a hard time believing that it's just some use somewhere. I mean, that would be almost impossible to use that much water. And if it's going through a residential,
Yeah.
even if a faucet was running full time, can't imagine it using that much water. So there's gotta be something, and no leaks found. She's made good efforts to try to find any leaks. So I kinda think there's a case that could be made that maybe was some problem.
Alright, it is 7:30. So we're gonna close the work session and open the meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to, where am I at here? The July 23rd Tenino City Council meeting. Let the record show that all council members are present, with the exception of Councilmember Lawton. Please rise for the flag salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. We have an agenda needing approval with the additional consideration of a proclamation for Adam Craig Foundation.
Move approval.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as stated with the amendment of the proclamation. Is there any discussion? We discussed an executive session. Don't forget, if you want to do those, if you want one of those, bring it up now. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. That brings us to approval of the July 9th minutes.
Move approval.
It has been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the July 9th, 2019 regular city council meeting minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. That brings us to the consent calendar consisting of July 10th, 2019 through July 23rd, 2019. Payroll EFTs and checks number 28390 through 28396 in the amount of $45,833.24. Claims checks number 28397. It's all wonky on mine. Through 28426 in the amount of $23,876.80 for a grand total of $69,710.04.
Move approval.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar as stated, along with the excusal of Jason Lawton, who's in Hawaii. Councilmember Jason Lawton.
This says that he wanted to be excused because of work conflict.
Yeah, well, he's in Hawaii. We all know. Yeah, he's working his way down the beach.
Well, at least when I was sick, I wasn't in Hawaii.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. That brings us to presentations. We've heard from Ms. Faye Bronson during our work session. Not sure how to approach it. You know, it does sound like that there's some things to consider for the council to consider. So the administration has rules that the administration has to follow. And if it gets to a certain point, we ask the council to weigh in on it, and they become the deliberative body that would allow the council to make exceptions or consider things. And there might be some back and forth, because there may be legal requirements or repercussions or considerations. So some things we can do, some things we can't do. I trust that the council is gonna, take your concerns into consideration and be fair about things.
can I add something?
Absolutely.
I pay about $50 a month more all year, so that in summer it covers my watering bill. It wiped out a $341 credit that I had on the account in May.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm just very conscientious about that kind of stuff.
It really sounds like it, and I appreciate, sounds like you're a very responsible resident. I mean, that's pretty evident. So I trust that they'll make some fair decisions. I don't think that they can tonight, but we will discuss it. It's hard to figure out what, I don't know what they're gonna decide.
It's also interesting to me when, was it John, somebody or other downstairs, sent me a reply back to tell me the circumstances with which I could be refunded, but there's no mention anywhere in your municipal code that accounts for a faulty meter. So in other words, it's always to the benefit of the city if I have a leak or whatever, but no mention of if there's a problem with the meter.
Okay.
And that to me seems like a little bit biased on your side and not much on my side.
Yeah,
So,
you make a good point. You make an excellent point. So if the council wants to review those rules as well, that would be another thing to consider. You just have to ask us to bring them forward, or we'll just bring it forward naturally. Is there any suggestions on how the council would like to approach this?
You've already hit on it. We need to find out what our legal responsibilities are and what we can do. Once we know that, then we can move forward.
Okay. So we'll have some questions for the city attorney, and we will have some answers at the next city council meeting. Does that sound like we're moving forward? Okay.
well, I mean, you have to do what you have to do.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not paying any more of my bill until I figure out what's going on.
Okay.
Because I paid the entire $600 for May.
Okay.
I did pay that one, and I paid $200 of the bill for June, but I've not paid any more. So, I mean,
that was my concern, so can we take some immediate action to have her somehow not get her water shut off until I get this figured out, since she's paid a big portion of it? I don't know if we can take that action so it doesn't.
I was told that as long as it's under consideration that there would be no action taken on my water, is what they told me downstairs.
Okay.
Hopefully that's true. I didn't read all the regulations.
Let's go ahead and make it true.
Yeah, let's make it true.
Yeah. While this is under consideration.
You're gonna be in purgatory.
What it is, yeah.
Yes, that's a good place. We're all good Catholics.
If you have water service, you have to pay the bill or we shut the water off. That's black and white, there's no give in it. We're talking about a sum of money that is under consideration, we got all that, but you can't hold the city hostage, that's not fair to everybody else.
No.
Paying
we're not
forward.
Doing that.
Yeah.
But if there's a sum of money that we are considering whether is appropriate or not, that's different than you paying next month's bill,
Right.
and next month's bill, and next month's bill.
Right, I'll pay next month's bill.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
just
not,
talking about-
she's not protesting, saying, I'm not gonna pay another damn bill.
No, I'm not.
That's not what I'm hearing, right?
We
No,
don't
that's
have to
correct.
take action.
Just those 2 months under
Okay.
review.
Just these 2 months right here, because I think I've been overcharged almost $1,000.
Okay,
That's a lot of money.
alright,
And my next bill, when it comes, you get an auto payment, $200 every month from my bank automatically.
So you're-
I've got it set up. So, and my water bill's never that high, and if it is over, I always pay the extra with an additional payment. So in other
Okay.
words, 200 is 250, I send you a check for 50.
okay.
All my
So
other bills are-
and we've done this before. This is not our first rodeo with leaks or water issues or anything, so we will, and it takes a little bit of time. So we will be taking this into consideration. We'll be talking about this at the next council meeting, and if you're welcome to attend. So we'll keep in contact. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
All right, thank you, everybody. That brings us to
So can I
after
go home?
What's that?
Can I leave?
No, you have to stay.
No, you can leave.
We enjoy you. You're doing a great job.
No, Love Island comes on at 8 o'clock, I know what it is.
Gilligan's Island?
Love Island.
Oh.
Thank you very much.
I know. Can you do my taxes?
I don't do taxes.
Dang it. Thank you. After many months of searching, the administration is coordinating with Planning Commission Chair Will Rutherford. We have selected Mr. Alex Murray as the administration's nomination as Planning Commissioner, position 5, and wish to present Mr. Murray to the City Council for confirmation. He's unfortunately not able to make it tonight.
No approval.
If confirmed, Mr. Murray would replace Commissioner Becky Stevens in the number 5 position, which expires 2025. We have a motion to confirm the appointment and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Those opposed? Thank you, that was awesome. That brings us to Mr. Joey Samione, Brightwire Networks, who will present their proposal for IT services.
Correct.
Good morning. I don't know.
Thanks, sir.
We'll blackout.
Hello, colleague.
Hi there. Gordon Carlisle.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
I do not.
You don't have a pass, are you Irishman?
You know, I'm Irish in it.
Ah.
Okay. There.
Just gotta use the arrow keys.
Yeah. I'm not used to rudimentary technology, so you'll have to.
Well, it starts out with a.
No,
I know
I'm
what
just
we have.
teasing. I'm just teasing. Well, hey, I'm Joey Samionian with Brightwire Technologies. Thank you very much for having me today. We're gonna go over our proposal and some of the conversations that we had with John and your concerns for the city of Tenino. And since we're on a time crunch, I'm gonna rush through this fairly quick so we have questions at the end. And if you have any questions, please leave them till the end, and I'm more than happy to answer anything. First and foremost, as you can see, Brightwire Networks, we have a proven process, and I wanted to put this slide in here to emphasize really quickly that everything we do is process driven. We've already gone through the discovery stage where John reached out to us because we were nominated for Small Business of the Year from the Thurston County EDC, one of our clients. We went on site, had a conversation about the challenges that you guys are facing, some of the goals we'd like to see in the future, and of course we talked about the City Council renovations that you guys have coming up and some of the projects that you guys would like to approach in the future. We've done a high-level assessment, so we did come down to City Hall. We did a visual assessment of your technology. We discussed some of the practices, but beyond that, we didn't do a deep dive software scan or started to look at the different aspects or configurations of your server. Right now, if you guys decide to move forward with Brightwire, the next stage is onboarding. During that process, we'll have a deep dive network assessment where we're going to discover every little aspect of what you guys have now. We're gonna match that with some of your goals and plans moving forward. We're gonna roll our security stack software out to your systems, our remote access software out to your systems so that we can manage and help move towards the direction of replacing all of your infrastructure as John has indicated. During that process, we'll meet after the network assessment and onboarding to develop a technology roadmap. At that point, we would want to propose the project for the server and the infrastructure replacement that you guys have on schedule so that we can get a better understanding of what you guys truly need rather than just saying, hey, you know, we manage the city of DuPont, we know cities, we think a server like this will work for you. We choose to have a more in-touch partnership because you guys are gonna be a little different. And so during that onboarding network assessment, that's when we'll be able to scope out that project moving forward so that we can get your technology to modern standard. Once you become a client, we wanna meet with you at least 4 times. We're gonna have an annual strategic business plan, as you can see within the chart. During that process, we're gonna wanna make sure that we align your IT budget with your goals and what you guys have on the agenda so that your technology is really serving your guys' mission and so that the public gets what they expect and how communication is delivered in technology. Get used to this arrow, right? Now, when we came on site, I just wanted to cover very briefly, because I know I have limited time, we talked about old technology that you guys have. Your servers are old. John indicated that some of them were cost effective when you purchased them and maybe not right size for what you truly need. That's problematic in a sense that you guys are starting to see security risks. You're starting to see operating systems come into life because of Microsoft pushing it that direction. And John has indicated that currently you guys don't have a hardware lifecycle management policy in place. So moving forward, what Brightwire would like to do is help you with that policy. So we're going to want to implement,
rolling through a hardware replacement, rolling out password policies so passwords aren't being shared, and going through the aspects of what an IT department would look like. Currently, your support, Sean has told me that there has been instances where slow response, hardware will die, there's an instant where you might have an outage, and then a lot of that could be problematic just from a standpoint of delivering your guys' message. Moving forward, Brightwire has a process, as you can see from our chart. We have an advanced ticketing system. The way that it works is when you request support from Brightwire, you're going to email, call, and we can put an icon on the City of Tenino computers, icon to request support. You're going to receive an automatic ticket back from us. We also have a triage, the first step here, where Aiden, if you ever get an opportunity to come to Brightwire in Olympia, you'll meet Aiden. He's our front line of defense. He's going to give you a call. He's really quick. We just actually gave him kudos for answering people on the phone within 5 minutes. And he's going to try and solve your problems. From there, if he can't solve it, he's going to identify one of our help desk technicians that's going to be assigned the ticket, and then we'll escalate up from there. And the whole point of this chart is to show you that each step we have a process that itemizes out a process for each part, and we take it seriously. And at the very end of our support process, you're going to receive a survey, and we meet on those every single Tuesday and make sure that we're following up and delivering quality service to you guys, because that's extremely important for us. Now, most of the support we do is remote. What does that mean? That means on occasion, if requested, we can take over your computer, we can provide support and fix the issue. Now, an instance where we might come on site, it's where it's more effective to help our user, to give that customer service aspect, because it makes more sense to come on site, or if you have hardware issues. Now, a lot of this pivots on the fact that we do automation. And so I always like to tell like a really quick story about this. It's monitoring in the sense that if you drove your car home tonight and you hit a pothole, or you break your windshield and you pull into the garage and you're like, oh man, my car is messed up, I don't want to deal with that tomorrow, I'm going to go to sleep right now. Well, a NASCAR pit crew runs in, hoists up your car, does a tune-up, fixes everything, and then when you come down in the morning, you get a drive, and it works perfect. That's essentially what Brightwire does to the network when everyone goes home. So when you come back to the city, everybody can work, things are optimized, we've identified maybe there's a hardware failure, and patched and made sure that you guys are good to go. Now, a lot of our clients, before they became Brightwire clients, said, well, why don't I hire an IT person, right? I could just hire an in-house person. And you know, a lot of times we discuss that, and it's, what would you pay an IT person? You know, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000? I mean, it kind of depends. Let's say $40,000, and then at the end of the day, you have to pay benefits, training, software. You'll have to get them an expense account so that they can replace stuff when they need to. And then at the end of the day, they're going to have to deal with your vendors, these guys. You're going to have to deal with Bias and the accounting. You're going to have to deal with Tenino Telephone Company. You're going to have to deal with TCOM 911, which Brightwire has a great relationship with. The reason we bring this up in that sense is Brightwire understands if you hired an IT person, you are going to require us to be that IT person. In this case, we have 16 of us, and we would have to manage the vendors so that you guys can do your job. The two benefits of that is, one, you can keep working, which is always nice, and two, we're going to document our conversations with your vendors. So if you have a support plan that you pay for, we have a documentation system that we can write the resolution in and save time next time. And at the end of the day, when we're trying to analyze root problems in your guys' network, having that information is essential, because we're able to run across this is a reoccurring problem that we're seeing issue time and time again, and then we can find a resolution for you versus if you guys just reached out yourself. Now, kind of the bane of everyone's existence right now, right? Security, 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 security. Everybody's worried about it. I always put this up just to reframe the mindset. When I originally talked to John, this was hot topic. 3 Florida cities, ransomware event. They were encrypted. I believe 2 cities paid over $1 million. Right now, there's a big issue with the U.S. Council of Mayors talking about we're not going to pay ransomwares in the future, which can be problematic in the sense that City of Baltimore did that. They were down for 2 months and they ended up spending about $18 million to get it back. I always like to just kind of shake the mindset, because when we came on site and we looked at the infrastructure, I would say, and you guys aren't alone, we're all in this together. I mean, our communities, I meet with a couple cities all the time, and not all the time, but recently, sorry. And it's the number one issue. It's our biggest weakness right now, and I wanted to make sure to touch it, because right now, you can't stay status quo. You gotta keep up. It's just the end of the day. Now, most people do the blue block here if you look at our security circle I have. Advanced antivirus, intrusion prevention, and security patching. Security patching is just making sure your operating system's patched and relevant with what Windows Server has put out and Microsoft has put out. That's why they're so worried about Windows 7 and stuff like that. Advanced antivirus, everybody knows what antivirus is. It's kind of like an immune system in the sense that it can only fix what it knows. And so it's today's day and age, I mean, it's just not enough. So we make sure to cover that, but at Brightwire we also include the next step. It's a layered security ransomware, it's a layered security stack, I apologize. Intelligent web filtering is, it knows all the websites that are malicious because they talk to each other around the web. So if you do click on a link, or you're being rerouted to a malicious website, it's going to detect that and prevent you from going there, because they already know that it's been flagged as bad, blacklisted. I think John has unfortunately experienced some of that. Ransomware, I mean, we actually deploy software to seek out and detect ransomware. It uses machine learning to learn how you interact with your program. So if they try tricky things like Word all of a sudden decides it's going to open up 1 million windows, or any of us that are from the 90s remember those funny viruses. It detects that. And if you did have an event, it's going to wall off your computer so that it doesn't infect your server. And then the next step, and this is more of a compliance issue if you guys have compliance or concerned about financial records or HIPAA, high-tech compliance, is we do data encryption. These are additional if you guys choose that, and of course we can have that conversation when you become a client if it makes sense for you guys. And then 2-factor authentication, where if somebody steals your username, password, you need your phone to at least let them in. So it's another layer of defense.
So you did an assessment of what we have. What do we currently have?
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
It really is, because we did a visual. We did honestly. I can say the next slide here, when disaster strikes, all about backup. John told me right now he feels that it's not the best, in the sense that he doesn't know if it's backed up or not, which could be problematic, because at the end of the day, when everything goes, you have your backup, right? And that's kind of your last line of defense. And to make sure that you guys are secure, you gotta have your backups dialed in. So I'd say backups right now was number one that I'd be concerned at when I looked. Age of your server, they start to break down to make sure everything's patched and secure. We could run scans across that, and if we decide to move forward, we can do that. That's fairly easy. It just takes a little bit more in-depth step. Now, the way we approach backups is we want to test them at least 4 times a day. At the end of the day, we have to make sure that not only do we back up your files, but your server, what your server looks like, so we don't have to spend all the time configuring it. Because if you guys go down and the public's trying to go to a field or a baseball game and you can't reach out, that would be affected, and we want to make sure that we don't have any outages. The way we do that is we put a local device and then of course have secured to the cloud, so if unfortunately City Hall burns down, you guys still can run.
No time off, guys.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing with us is we've got 16 people, so even when we're on vacation, we're still here, which is nice. We do asset management as well, so licenses, you don't have to worry about your domain for your website going expired, or weird little software shutting down because somebody's not keeping track of that, or if Microsoft decides to audit you, we're gonna take care of that as well. And then in our industry, I mean, we're IT guys, right? We should probably be pretty good at backing stuff up and fixing computers and doing antivirus and, you know, listening to you guys and doing help desk and walking you through that. So we really consider that table stakes. What makes Brightwire a little different is we match fixing computers and running the IT department with technical consulting. So future planning, designing infrastructure for cities, from a cybersecurity perspective. And we include that in our support plans for our clients because it's in your best interest as well as ours. It's a partnership where we're going to charge a fixed monthly rate, and the quieter you are, the better for us. And the quieter you are, you guys get to do your job and you don't have to worry about things. So at the end of the day, you have all bases covered. From help desk support, cybersecurity, disaster recovery if the place burns down or you need backup, restore, vendor management, technical consulting, professional services is what we call it, network administration, and managing all your systems. Now in your supplement packets, thank you for listening to me by the way, I'm sorry if I went over a couple minutes. In your supplement packets I have our price that we have designated for you guys. It includes everything that we talked about. Brightwire is an IT department. And the monthly, I lowered it actually a little bit since we talked shop. To $2,385 a month. And that's 16 IT professionals, all the tools to roll out, and having us as your IT department. And if you calculate that across, if you had one IT person, let's say 160 hours, that's about $13.87 an hour. So pretty reasonable. And then that network assessment to help us scope out the new servers and the new equipment you need, and onboard you to a Brightwire client, we do that for $3,500, because that does take considerable time. And the reason we do it that way is because we don't want to just tell you, hey, we have a generic IT solution that we think will work for you, and give you a quote and be wrong. We'd rather be right. So, any questions?
I think you talked about it, but I think one thing that's important for us is to kind of set aside money for these upgrades as they come. So if you help us develop like a plan for upgrades, so we can say we need to put $10,000 a year into, so that's part of the service.
Yeah, on the IT roadmap, that is part of the service. And we've gotten to the point where we run analytics across everything we do. Even when we don't charge people time, we're tracking our time to the point of we can tell how much we think per user with equipment is going to cost and the maintenance of that equipment. And so we can help with IT budgets and planning out phases so that we can make sure that your IT spend is appropriately allocated and it makes sense for what you guys are trying to accomplish. I mean, for instance, we'll standardize technology, but we want a business case, right? We'll have clients come to us that see something flashy and new, and they're like, oh, I went to a conference, this looks amazing, I think it would work great for my company. And we're like, wait, let's design a business case that makes sense to implement this, because there's cost, and then you gotta retrain everybody, and we go through that process of helping people.
3 years. 3-year roadmap.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you have any specific ones, he's the CTO.
I just think we haven't done a very good job with kind of planning ahead, so I think it's important for us to look ahead and be able to,
Well, I 100% agree. In most cases, when we start evaluating And they're like, well, that's a little bit more than I was spending. But then you look at, lost productivity and some of the intangibles, you're like, wow, we're really wasting when we could be saving and be secure and at best standard. And it's outsourcing, right? I mean, why should the big companies take advantage of it all the time? You outsource with us local professionals, and you get us for, I think, lower than you could pay an IT professional, honestly. And there's 16 of us, and we've got a lot of investment in the tool costs and our cybersecurity stack that we specifically developed that's unique to Brightwire. And I think you'll see a huge change. And most people, when they jump on board, they love it. And I mean, I would encourage you to reach out. I think I gave you guys some referrals, as well as the City of DuPont. We've been working with them with implementing tablets and going through that process of helping them redevelop their city council and this overall management of their IT. Since what, 2006?
A long time.
Yeah.
I think 2006.
Cool, Frank. Any other questions?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. What do you see coming down the road as far as 5G and AI?
I'd say, do you want to answer that, Gordon?
So as far as 5G goes, you've got years and years before there's just a few cities that are rolling it out. There's very few phones that are capable of doing it right now. And it's the challenge they have to face right now is obviously they use the cell phone towers to push it out. And 4G, where it is around in the area, has a lot longer range than 5G. So they're gonna have to cover those gaps in between the existing cell towers. I think in urban areas, it will roll out very quickly. In rural areas like this, it's going to be, I would guess, 3 years is very aggressive, and I would say it's gonna be longer than that, 5 at least. AI, that's on the frontier. And certainly more and more software packages are using it to make their software more and more efficient.